says allow recording, but
Okay,
pause it.
perfect.
No,
We'll pause it.
yeah, just pause it for follow up.
Okay, perfect. Got it. Okay, so good afternoon and thank you for taking the time to listen today. My name is Tiana Baptiste Waddell. I'm an educational consultant, founder of Liasia Consulting LLC, and executive director of Jax Aspire Foundation Parent and Child Advocacy. My work is centered on expanding student access to opportunity through equitable and inclusive practices. Today, I am speaking about the failure of South Bend Community School Corporation school board's leadership to fulfill one of the board's most important responsibilities, developing and implementing policies that protect the well-being and educational success of all children. And that specific policy is Board Members Ethics 0144.2. And the last two board presidents, Dr. Jeanette McCullough and the current president, Mr. Stuart Greene, continue to show a lack of follow through with that board member's ethics policy. Beginning on March 17th, 2025, Liasia Consulting LLC communicated with the board leadership, which was Dr. Jeanette McCullough at the time, and trustees regarding policy recommendations designed to improve outcomes for Black students and their peers. These recommendations included a variety of different options, and I can be specific with those later, but there were 12 different options that were presented to the school board at the time. Since that time, additional communications have been sent over the course of 16 months regarding matters directly related to the district's obligations under the federal consent decree, including concerns about student services, alternative school placement. There seems to be a school at Clay High that's not really being communicated with the public, school resource officers, cultural competency training and or anti-bias training, and other issues that have the potential to disproportionately impact Black students, like the lack of certified Black male teachers. These are not minor operational concerns. They are governance issues that warrant policy development, oversight, and strategic planning by the Board of School Trustees. Yet, despite repeated outreach from key stakeholders that have a vested interest, over the past year, there has been no meaningful response regarding policy solutions, implementation strategies, or long-term planning to address these concerns. Instead, communications regarding the consent decree and more recently, the Reparatory Justice Commission's report have largely gone unanswered. This significance of inaction cannot be overstated. The federal consent decree has documented long-standing racial disparities affecting Black students, and more recently, the Reparatory Justice Report further validated historical harms, finding that South Bend's educational system contributed to racial segregation through attendance boundaries, unequal allocation of resources, overcrowded schools, and lower expectations for Black students. The report concluded that the effects of these practices continue to influence educational outcomes today. For example, board members like Dr. Jeanette McCullough more recently made the biased reference that not all students from Rise Up Academy will go to college and should be placed on a different path for success, or the current discipline disproportionalities that exist in South Bend Schools discipline data. When both federal findings and local research identify systemic barriers affecting Black children, the expectation should not be silenced like they are currently presenting. The expectation is leadership. The community deserves to know what the policies are that will be developed, what the actions will be that will be taken, and what accountabilities will be used to measure that implementation to ensure that these documented harms are not repeated. So at this time, I will turn it over to Jordan, who will discuss previous calls for Black student achievement, strategic planning, and why that work remains urgent and necessary today.
Thank you, Tiana. My name is Jordan Geiger. That's Jordengiger. I'm a coach, and I'm here to speak about why the creation of a Black Student Achievement Plan must be understood as part of the broader work around reparations and repair in South Bend. The reparations report gives us an opportunity to do more than acknowledge history. It challenges us to examine how past it challenges us to examine how past discrimination continues to shape present day outcomes, and most importantly, what we are prepared to do about it. Education must be central to that conversation. For generations, Black students have experienced the consequences of segregation, unequal investment, discriminatory discipline, and barriers to opportunity. And these are not simply isolated problems from the past. Their effects can be seen today in disparities in student achievement, suspension and expulsion rates, access to advanced courses, graduation outcomes, and the opportunities available to Black students. If we acknowledge that these disparities have historical roots, then repair requires more than a general commitment to treating everyone the same. It requires targeted strategies designed to address the specific barriers Black students continue to face. This is why we are calling for the creation of a comprehensive Black student achievement plan for South Bend schools. In 2022, we launched a campaign around um, uh, um, I'm trying to remember the term that we used at the time, but we were talking about the reallocation of funding from SROs or school resource officers to fund a Black student achievement plan. At that time, we had circulated a petition that had gained thousands of signatures. Tiana and others were a part of that, including the Michiana Alliance Against Racism and Political Repression. We had a paper petition where we went door to door in certain neighborhoods and got signatures. We were showing up at First Friday events in downtown South Bend, and we had an online petition, and we showed up at other events as well. And again, we got thousands of folks, thousands of residents to support our call for the defunding of the police and the investment in a Black student achievement plan. That was 4 years ago. And we also met with individual board members at that time, trying to shore up their support for our efforts. And we thought this was important, right? Because this was in light of George Floyd and other school districts, including Los Angeles and Chicago Public Schools. I should say Los Angeles's LA Unified School District and Chicago Public Schools had developed targeted strategies focused on improving educational outcomes for Black students. So we believe that South Bend should study these models and create a plan that responds to the needs and experiences of Black students in our own community. And so we're calling for the South Bend School Board of Trustees, or Community School Board of Trustees, to pass a resolution that directs the administration, directs the superintendent and his cabinet to begin to develop that plan in partnership with thought leaders, folks like Tiano, who are experts on education issues in our district, and also with the community. A Black student achievement plan should establish a clear and measurable goals for academic achievement, graduation, literacy, college and career readiness, and reducing racial disparities in school discipline. It should also invest in culturally responsive education, mentorship, mental health, and strong student support, family engagement, and stronger partnerships with Black-led community organizations. Most importantly, Black students, parents, educators, and community members must have a meaningful role in designing the plan and holding the school corporation and all of its staff and administrators accountable for its implementation. The reparations report should not be another document that just sits on a shelf and collects dust. It should be a living document. It should guide the corporation as to what it should do, and its value will be measured by what we build from it. And so I just want to say in closing that our Black students deserve more than promises. They deserve a plan that's measurable, that has real commitments, meaningful investments, and a school system and a school system that is prepared to be accountable for their success. So if we're serious about reparations, if we're serious about supporting Black students and righting our wrongs and repairing the harm, we have to be serious about racial justice in ways that uplift the most marginalized among us. And by and large, those are our young people. And so we have a prime opportunity right now for the corporation to really lean in and like embrace what has come out in this report and to take meaningful steps towards redress. So I just want to thank you, and I'll close out.
Thank you, Jordan. And so, Rayleigh, we don't have Olitha here, but she did give us a statement, and I'm going to read her statement. Sorry she had to back out at the very last minute. Something came up, but what she submitted to me was, and I can forward this to you too. The South Bend branch of the NAACP has continuously challenged the South Bend Community School Corporation as we strive to hold the corporation accountable for transparency and equality. Our position and belief is education is a civil right and is directly connected to the civil rights cause because the school system and its school board controls the distribution of its taxpayers' funds and academic resources that historically impacts marginalized students the most. When local school boards operate behind closed doors, cloaked in secrecy, it removes the public oversight necessary to prevent discrimination that will guarantee equal education opportunities for every child. The local NAACP strongly advocates for a democratically operated school system and demands transparency in educational decision making to protect marginalized communities. The local NAACP strives to hold South Bend schools accountable for transparency and equality by through direct monitoring of the 1980 federal desegregation consent decree regarding racial equity, by evaluating data to address systemic academic and disciplinary disparities. It can be said we treat these practices as an indicator of systemic culture problem that needs to be resolved through transparency. It is time to be completely open and honest about the miseducation of Black children in South Bend schools. And that comes from the Education Committee, South Bend's NAACP Chairman Olitha Jones, and Trina Robinson, the president. And then I'm going to end again with just wrapping up what Jordan has already spoken to, which is just what we're calling on. One and first and foremost, every healing starts with a public apology and acknowledgement for the racial harms that have happened to Black students through in the system of South Bend schools. So a formal resolution apologizing to children and their families, the development and, like he said, the adoption of a resolution to hold the whole system accountable to a Black student achievement strategic plan that will provide clear accountability measures and timelines to address the racial disparities that are continuing. We want to begin to, we expect the district to begin to immediately implement the recommendations that were found in the Reparatory Justice Commission's report for the segregated educational harm. And some of those include the implementation of board policies that protect children's well-being. That is their sole duty as a board, is to implement board policies. Yes, they've done some work on policies, but they have not been specific to these issues that they've had for now 100 years. They're just not addressing the issues that they've had. They're sustaining issues. So we need specific policies to protect the children that they've been harming. As Jordan already spoke to, anti-bias training should be a priority. We already know that they're behind on doing that. Hiring more certified Black teachers, specifically male, and investing dollars into their segregated schools until they can desegregate. Right now, there's Dickinson, Navarre, Harrison, Washington, and Coquillard that are segregated. They have a high enrollment rate of Black children. And we understand the data says that if a school is a high minority school, then they are not more than likely getting the resources they need to be efficient and effective and successful. So until they can desegregate those schools, they should be investing lots of dollars into those schools. And then finally, something that we've called on for several years now, and Jordan, you may want to chime in. I'm going to do my best as I continue to learn about this, but to evaluate the impact of being a TIF district and how that revenue, or excuse me, how much of that revenue has been lost or set aside because we're a TIF district, because that could be money that, again, could be used to support this cause. So that's what we're calling on for the board to take responsibility and start putting in policies and resolutions to address the achievement of Black children. Thank you for your time, Rayleigh. Any questions that you may have?
A few, if you don't mind. Thank you so
Okay.
much for your time. I know this is kind of sorry, it's very dark. I don't know why. Maybe that's better. I know this has kind of been talked about a lot recently, but is your point that the things that the district is doing conceivably, I'm thinking of this like racial disparity in discipline committee that they have been talking about for a while. And I think they're also doing this like cultural competency initiative. Are you saying that these things that they're doing supposedly are not enough? You're calling for more things?
Not only are they not enough, but they're not happening. And I can pull up the latest email I just got from Mansour Eid in regards to the cultural competency training, what he communicated to me on the board night. And he had not even responded until after I complained about it when I went up there and complained. Then I get an email from him saying, Tiana, sorry we haven't gotten back to you, but we're looking into hiring an expert in this area, and then we're going to get it board approved, blah, blah, blah. So it's still not happening. And it's the end of July. They had 3 months to do training and they've done nothing. So these teachers are going to start their school year in the same fashion they always have, which is not being fully trained to be experts, to begin to become experts around bias and dismantling bias that causes harm. What he also did say in that email was that they were going to start with the principals, which is fine. You know, you start with your leaders, you want your, because the leaders are the ones doing the suspension and the guiding and all that. So we want those people to be trained, but they have the capacity to train everybody. And I know they do because when it came to the controls for finance, they got over 1,000 people trained like that. So they're not doing the work when it comes to this. And then, so you asked me two things. You asked about the cultural competency, and what was the other one?
The um the committee for like
So,
discrimination, yeah, in discipline.
I mean, it's not transparent enough. You know, that goes back to the lack of communication. They announced it. They had this guy come and present, and then they made a hire, and then I mean, we don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
So
And
again,
I
go
oh,
ahead. Sorry.
oh, I'm sorry. I got a little triggered. And I did because, really, like, I've been back in South Bend for 10 years. Tiana has been there for a long time.
27.
Right. She worked in the corporation for 20 years.
Yeah.
This is ABC. Okay. This is not a new issue. When I first moved back to South Bend, you can Google it. This was in the Tribune. I wrote articles about this, viewpoint pieces about the disparities in school discipline. These same folks that are in position right now, with the exception of Ede, have been in the corporation. They've been in
No,
positions of leadership.
Ede's been there too.
No, I'm saying he was a principal, but
Yes.
at the time when I first moved back here, remember Carla Lee, Doris
Oh,
Austin, they
yes,
were
yes.
in the administration under
Correct.
spells,
Correct.
right? So this is not like new information for these folks. These are not like new issues, right? So of course we expect that they would be doing something more meaningful because they've got among them probably 60, 70 years of experience in South Bend schools. Doris Austin was my elementary school teacher. So like these are folks who we know. These are folks who we engaged with 10 years ago around these same issues, and we're still seeing these persistent disparities. I also wanted to note real quick that I think it was 2021 or 2022, some years ago, we were working with Henry Davis Jr. when he was a councilman. And he passed a resolution. He was putting forward a resolution. This was around, it was around COVID. And he was trying to have more coordination between the South Bend Common Council, the City of South Bend, the South Bend, or the community, South Bend Community School Corporation Board of Trustees, and the Superintendent's Administration, right? To look at, because they were talking about closing schools and what do we do about the facilities and the buildings. And he was saying, look, if you close schools, it's going to impact the city. It's going to bring down property tax revenue because it impacts property tax value. Well, in addition to that, part of that conversation was trying to get at TIF districts. When you look at how TIF districts are created and used around the country, they calcify all new property tax revenue and hold it within that district. So that money is not going to the school corporations. This is not unique to South Bend or Indiana. This is all over the country. Therefore, as the school corporation is dealing with, well, how do we deal with the changes in the property tax revenue formula from the state, right? Like, how do we deal with these revenue challenges? We're losing students. We need to look at the ways in which the school corporation and the city can come together to address the revenue issues. And I believe, and we believe that part of that is looking at the impact of TIF districts, and that's tax incremental finance districts.
Mhm.
Thank you for explaining that. My second question, have you heard, I'm sure you have, but if you have any stories or, anecdotes from Black families within the district, how is this impacting them firsthand?
Mhm. Well, the thing is that it's hopeless. Like people have no hope anymore. Me being a parent and child advocate, I've had several clients over the years, and we've exhausted everything that we're supposed to, which is building leadership, teachers, board members. And in most cases, things go unresolved or things are just they're just not resolved. I have one family in particular. She may be willing to speak with you. I can reach out to her after this. I have one current client that's got a current OCR case. Her child was choked up.
What's OCR? Just
I'm
so
sorry, Office of Civil Rights complaint. Her child was choked up by a staff member because they lacked the resources, the skills to manage behavior. Um, I mean, there's just I have a couple of people. I can reach out and see if they have an interest, if that's what you're asking. I don't even know if that's what you're asking, but yeah, my clients for sure. My clients for sure. And these issues are lingering. Like things would happen 2 or 3 years ago, and because of decisions that the district made, there's still effects today from those things, negative impacts because of their decision or lack thereof.
I can give you an example of my cousin, and Tiana was helping me
I
with the
mean,
case of my cousin.
that's who I'm
You know,
thinking. Yeah.
yeah, he got confronted by a security guard at Jackson Intermediate, and my cousin has an IEP. His IEP, or Independent Educational Program, was not our plan. I'm sorry, was not adequately followed, and we know that this is a rampant issue in the corporation because teachers, emergency permit teachers, staff members are not properly trained on how to deal with young people with IEPs. And essentially, he was taunted by, approached and taunted by a security guard that led to a conflict. And ever since then,
Yeah.
he was got involved in the juvenile justice system
Yeah.
and has been
And
stuck in it ever since.
yeah, and the thing that was crazy is that the school, South Bend Schools, admitted in what's it's called. So the whole process, when a kid has an IEP, if you put them up for expulsion or suspension, you have to go through what's called a manifestation determination conference. In that conference, they determine if the child's disability was related to the incident. In this particular case that we're talking about, the school system, South Bend Schools, admitted fault. They admitted that they did not implement his IEP. However, because they submitted a police report, it also became a criminal thing. So we were able to drop the school issue and not get him expelled, and he was allowed to go to another school. But that police officer turned in a report that should have never have been turned in because the school failed. But yet that child still had to go to court, still had to face a judge, still got charged. Even in the case, I was there, even in the court case, Mr. O'Brien, I actually hired him at Marshall. See, this is how much I know so much. He admitted that he was wrong for touching the kid. He admitted he was wrong for calling the kid a girl. He called a black kid a girl, a boy. You culturally speaking, you don't call black boys girls unless, that's what they want, but you don't do that. That's insulting. So he admitted doing all these negative things to this child. And because of all those negative things, the child got physical with him. That's why there was a police report in the first place. But it was because of the adult's failure to implement that child's needs. But he still had to face a judge, probation, has a record till this day, 2, 3 years later, till this day. And so he's not the only case like that. Like I said, there's situations where children don't actually do something and they're attacked and now they're traumatized. I mean, this is happening and it's every day. The stuff, oh, and this is something I did want to connect just because I feel like I need to. The last week, Howard Park, 4th of July or July 3rd, and then even I know the Martin Luther King event was great overall, but they still had a fight, and it just happened within a week of other fights. These are systemic effects of decisions that are being made in the school system. Lack of decisions, lack of training teachers how to shape students to become good citizens in the world is having a negative impact on our community. Children are coming and they're fighting. The stuff we're seeing this summer is what happens every day in the school system, to be honest with you. But it's just a correlation that I believe is there. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a researcher, but I do believe there's a correlation to the lack of effective stewardship in South Bend schools and other school systems across this region and how it's showing up in our everyday happenings in society. Um, so yeah, that was a long answer for your one question.
No, that was great. I appreciate it. Those were the questions I had.
Okay.
Thank you for answering them.
Yes, ABC 57, welcome in. If you're still there.
They might just have a producer recording.
Okay. Well, we're
Mhm.
at the end, so do you want to wrap it up, Jordan?
No, I mean, I think that summed it up. I just want to say that we are going to have an event
Oh, yes.
on August 6th.
Yes,
Is it 6 p.m., right, Tiana?
correct.
Yep, 6 p.m. in Beutter-Kernan Hall, St. Joe County Library, main branch downtown. And we will be pushing this Black Student Achievement Plan. We'll continue to push. We'll be holding school board members accountable or trustee members accountable. We'll try to meet with them individually to get commitments, but we are going to have this event on August 6th that'll be open to the public, and they will be invited, not just the trustees, but also other corporation officials including the superintendent.
Right. And just for you, if you write about that, it's Black Lives Matter, NAACP South Bend, Jax Aspire Foundation, and Leasia Consulting LLC that's putting on that event, just for your notes. Well, thank you all. Thank you so much for showing up. We appreciate your commitment to us and our people. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank
All right,
you.
have a great day.
You too. Thank you, Jordan.
Yep, you're welcome. Thank you.
See ya.
See you. Oh, can